Are you planning on visiting Barcelona this December and looking to make the most out of your trip? In this video, I'm going to be breaking down what Barcelona is like in the month of December, the important dates that you'll need to know about, and what events you'll want to check out while you're here. But before we begin, remember that this video is based specifically on the things that you can do in December. There's some of the best things that you can do in Barcelona throughout the year. Remember, you can check out some of my other videos. And if you don't want to take any of those notes for this month, download my December travel guide to Barcelona so you can look at it and use it while you're here from the convenience of your phone. Barcelona in December is a little bit of a mix of that high and that low season. Obviously, being out of those summer months and with the temperatures being a little bit colder, you do have less people than you would maybe expect in July or August. But because there are a lot of bank holidays and even that holiday season, there tends to be more people in the city around specific dates, especially with that national tourism where you have people moving all throughout Spain. Obviously, Barcelona being one of the main places to go, you're going to see a lot of people around on these days. Now, temperature-wise, you're going to find highs between 40 and 60 degrees, which here in Barcelona is cold. But let's be honest, within the last year, realistically, those temperatures have been a little bit higher. And even last year in December, we got up to some days of 70 degrees. Either way, you're going to see those locals dressed in their coats and their scarves, and everybody that's coming over thinking that it's really warm weather. You'll see those tourists are going to be dressed with those lighter layers. All in all, it is a really nice month to be here, walking the city, and especially seeing the holiday season. You're going to have a great time. So to make sure that that trip is all the better, we're going to talk about specific dates in December that you need to know about, with some closures or just having more people in the city. Now, there are quite a few dates in December that if you're in Barcelona, you're going to want to know about. Some of them are going to be those public holidays, and you might see some different hours for stores, restaurants, or anything. And if you're looking for those different hours and not sure if a restaurant or store is going to be open, one thing you can always do is go directly to the page and find out. But one little trick with all of these different dates is to go and find them on social media. Google isn't always the best source because maybe they're not going to be updated as much as they will with any of their social media pages. So going over to Instagram and seeing if they're posting and giving you some posts about specific hours will give you a better idea of if they're open or not. The first big date in December is December 6th, and it's not for St. Nicholas Day, but it is a public holiday, and this is something all around Spain because it's the day of the Spanish Constitution, and this is representing the signing of that new Constitution in 1978. You will find a lot of stores and shops that are going to be closed. The next day is December 8th, which is the Immaculate Conception, and not a political day. It is more of a religious day, but it is a public holiday as well. Together, the 6th and the 8th make up what we call the December Puente, or the December Bridge holiday. This year, because it's falling on Wednesday and Friday, there are quite a few more days where Thursday is just a holiday basically in itself. But what you're going to see is a lot of people around the city. And this is, again, going to be a lot more of that national tourism. So if you do come over here after that drop in the numbers that we see usually around November, this is when we get a really big spike before it drops down around mid-December. Expect a lot of people around, a lot of things going on, and enjoy it. Now, there's no surprise here, but both December 24th and the 25th for Christmas Eve and Christmas are holidays over here that don't really need much more explanation, but also December 26th, which is going to be the celebration of St. Stephen's Day. This is much more of a family holiday where people, after those 2 big days of eating, are going to be staying at home and maybe eating some cannellonis, which is something you should try out. These 3 days together are basically going to be the 3 where you're going to see the most closures in terms of tourist attractions if you're over here. So if you are over here, remember what I told you before about checking to see if there are openings or if there are any varied hours in any of those shops or tourist attractions that you might want to be getting over to. But some things that you're going to see and some of the biggest attractions that you'll want to see, like the Sagrada Familia, Park Güell, and the Casa Batlló, are all open on those days. Sagrada Familia on Christmas Day is open just until 2 p.m. But for the rest of those, check out those different hours. December 28th is not a public holiday, so you're not going to have to worry about any store closings or anything like that. But it is the celebration of the Day of the Innocents. And how that works here is it's basically like an April Fool's Day. So one of the things that if you are in the city that you'll want to make sure that you know about is that if you hear any news or somebody tells you something, you might want to double check that source. A lot of people like to play little jokes and things, so it might not always be the case. It's always a fun day where people are posting all sorts of different things on Instagram and whatnot. So make sure that you double check all of that because you might get fooled. The last day of the month and the year, December 31st, is obviously a big holiday as well. And there's some big celebrations that I would recommend that we'll talk about a little bit later so you know where to go to ring in the new year. But there's also a big children's legend that's called Loma dels Nassos. And this is the man of the noses. Or basically, there's a legend that they tell all the kids that there's a man running around the city that has as many noses as years in the day. But each day that goes by, one of those noses is gone. Now, obviously, because we're on the last day of the year, we get down to where we have just one nose. So all the kids run around looking for this guy, but it could be anybody. Is it you? Now, if you're here in Barcelona in December, one of the things that you're definitely going to want to check out are the different Christmas markets. And here there are 4 different spaces where you can do that. Now, it's important to know that it's a little bit different than maybe some of the other European markets that you might find in places like Germany, where there's not as much food offered around. It's more of things and stands that you can buy to decorate your home. One of the most famous spots that you'll find is right out in front of the cathedral, which is called the Fira de Santa Lucia. It is the oldest Christmas market in all of Barcelona that started back in 1786. Got over 200 different stands, and it's definitely the one you're going to want to check out while you're here. And while that market in front of the cathedral is the biggest and the oldest, you've also got to get over to the market just outside of the Sagrada Familia, which is really just an extension of the former. The Fira de Santa Lucia got too big and they needed more space, so they moved it over to the Sagrada Familia. And just on the outside, you're going to find all of those different stands with some little gifts that you can buy, a little bit of food that you can try out as well, and some great views. Now, while those first 2 Christmas markets are a little bit more geared toward those Christmas decorations, if you're looking to get some gifts, come on over to the Gran Via and the Fira de Reis. This is going to be the market realistically more set up for the 3 Kings Day on January 6th, which is when most people are going to give presents over here in Barcelona and Spain in general. Now, this is something that was set up in that 18th century when a group of vendors got together and just wanted to sell and take advantage a little bit more of the Christmas season and sell all of that stuff. And they still have all of the stands over here. What you can do is come on over on the last night, January 5th, where it's going to be open basically until they get rid of everything. But it's a nice way to see a little bit more of those gifts that you can give all your loved ones. The last market that you can come over to is right over here at the Old Port. And what it's called is Nadal al Port, or Christmas at the Port. And it's a little bit different maybe than some of those other markets where you're going to have more of those stands to buy some things. Here, apart from those stands, you're also going to have different activities, rides like a Ferris wheel, and even an ice skating rink. And we'll talk about that a little bit more if you're looking to do some ice skating while you're here in Barcelona. But like many of those other markets, you can still find a lot of those Christmas decorations and some of those specific Catalan Christmas decorations like the Caganer or the Cagatillo. But if you're looking for different information and more specific information about those things that you should buy while you're over here, or even other specific holiday foods that you should be trying while you're here, remember to download my Barcelona City Guide to December and take it with you on your phone while you're here. Apart from those Christmas markets, you're going to want to get around and see all of the different Christmas lights. There's 3 different ways that you can best take advantage and see all of them. The easiest and free is to go around and just walk the city, especially in places like the Passeig de Gràcia, where you've got those famous hanging lights that you can see in all of those Instagram pictures. Now, they've got all sorts of different hours that are going on. All the lights turn on after sunset, and they will have some extended hours on the 31st and the 5th of January. Those lights are going to be up until the 5th, so you can enjoy them for a long, long time. But definitely get around, walk around the city, and check them out. One of the best ways to see all the Christmas lights here in Barcelona is to hop on the Barcelona Bus Turístic and get around to some of the biggest streets and the best lights all around the city. It's a special bus that they set up at this time of the year, this year running from November 25th to December 31st, and gets you around basically to everything. It's a lot faster than walking. They have rides at 6 and 8 o'clock at night, but these things book up really fast. So you're going to want to get online as soon as they're available and make your reservation so that you can ensure that you have a seat. Everything leaves from the Plaça Catalunya right where we are, and you get around, you see everything. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't love the commentary when I was actually on the bus, but it is so worth it to get around the city, check out all of those lights, and see it pretty quickly. And last but not least, one of the best ways to check out some of the Christmas lights here in Barcelona is to get over to the Hospital de Sant Pau and check out the Llums de Sant Pau. Now, this is a modernist hospital that you should see at any time of the year, and really one of those like hidden gems. It's just down the road from the Sagrada Familia, but not as well known. A beautifully decorated hospital that is really worth it to get on over and check out. Will be even more lit up, even more colorful to come over and see. And these lights are a little bit longer than those Christmas lights you're going to see throughout the city. realistically starting in mid-November. They're going to go all the way to mid-January. And this year, we've got an extra special and new activity that we'll see later. This December, El Barça's got 3 different home games that you can attend. First, you've got Atletico Madrid on December 3rd. Next, you've got Girona on December 10th that's going to be coming to town. It'll be a big game against the other Catalan rivals. And then on the 20th, Almeria gets in. Now remember, they're playing over at the Olympic Stadium now, and if you can't make it to any one of these games, you can always go over to the museum for FC Barcelona and check that out. With the renovations going on at the Camp Nou, it's been moved over to the old ice rink. Speaking of ice rinks, if you're looking to do some skating while you're in town, Barcelona has a bunch of different rinks that are set up. Like we said, you don't have the opportunity of going over to the old FC Barcelona rink, but you can get over to Tibidabo, which is that mountain behind the city with all of the amusement park and the church as well. You can get over to various different malls, the Old Port, and one of the big things, and the new thing that I alluded to over at the Hospital of St. Paul, is going to be a new ice rink. Those lights are going to be even more impressive with the opportunity to go skating over there, so go and check it out. And another thing you'll want to do is catch a concert or even a Christmas concert. And 2 of the best places that you'll want to do this at are right here at the Liceu Opera House, which has been celebrating its 175th anniversary, or over at the Palau de la Música, the Catalan Music Palace. Both that palace and the Hospital of St. Paul that we've already talked about were made by Domènec i Montaner. And this year is the 100th anniversary since his death. So there's all sorts of special things going on. Both of these would be great venues to go and catch a concert at. Now, the last event that you're going to need to know about if you're here in December is the last day of the year. If you're here for New Year's Eve, there's all sorts of things that are going on throughout the city. You can obviously get over to all of the different clubs that are going to have their different parties you can sign up for beforehand. Remember that if you're going over to those clubs, things don't really start until after midnight. Most people are going to be staying home with their families, celebrating, ringing in the new year, and then going out to those clubs after. But if you want to do something with a lot of different people, 2 things that I definitely recommend are getting over to Pobla Español, which always has some big event to ring in the new year, and Plaza España. And remember that the big tradition here at midnight is to eat those 12 grapes. But if you don't know what that tradition is all about and want to know more about it, watch this video next where I go through the entire tradition.